It's definitely something we haven't seen so far, I guess. Jaekyung being completely raw in his emotions and feelings and seeing true fear and horror in his eyes. I just loved how Mingwa captured and depicted this scene, from Jaekyung panicking to realizing it's not Kim Dan that was pulled out the water. To be honest, this chapter triggered a lot of emotions, because let's not forget how angry Jaekyung got on Kim Dan for drinking again and then passing out. Though it was a really aggressive move, I low-key get Jaekyung for being fed up with Kim Dan still acting so carelessly about his health, though the doctor clearly instructed that alcohol is off the table. I don't know about you, but what if Jaekyung experienced something similar in his past to a closer one? To me, it seemed as if it wasn't too foreign, but rather familiar to him. Could this be related to his backstory? He not only seemed really angry, but also disappointed. Perhaps how easily Kim Dan isn't taking his health seriously? Did he have bad experiences with alcohol? Not only that, but I guess he was just anxious with the scheduled match that is planned to take place soon. After so many chapters, Jaekyung was thinking of Baek Junmin again, and I guess he has a huge impact on Jaekyung. What is their past together? Why is he getting under Jaekyung's skin? But have you also noticed, though it's only a small change, that although Jaekyung is considering hiring someone else, he still worries about Kim Dan's condition. And that's frustrating that he has no clue what's come over Kim Dan. It's really refreshing to get inside Jaekyung's head after so many chapters and see what's going on there and why he's acting the way he is. To me, he's clearly an overthinker who is also a perfectionist. He does also have a conscience, though it wasn't too visible in the beginning chapters. He's still considering replacing Kim Dan, but gets angry only thinking about that. What's about the migraine, though? What was also striking in chapter 69, in my opinion, is that you can clearly sense again that Jaekyung is respecting elders or most of the time. Not only did he react instantly when the landlord asked him to help him, but also did he as coach asked him to do, without hesitation. Honestly, the landlord's still referring to Jaekyung as "Jaekyung gets me anytime" and is hilarious as heck. As we discussed in a previous thoughts, theories, and predictions video, Jaekyung was talking to coach on the phone when they were at the hotel room in order to get the issue with the culprit and the sheikh resolved. Do you think this aspect will get more important in future chapters? Will it affect Jaekyung's boxing career again? In general, I've got the feeling that Jaekyung, apart from his bratty behavior every now and then, he got more calmer and collected than in the beginning of Jinx. This chapter especially showed a lot of unfiltered emotions and facial expressions, without him big cursing or being loud and aggressive. It also showed that at this point of the plot, Kim Dan does live rent-free inside Jaekyung's head. The depiction of fear in his facial expression when he realized it could have been Kim Dan that nearly drowned was chef's kiss, in my opinion. You could clearly see the horror in his eyes alone by the thought of losing Kim Dan. Same goes with the scene where he was hugging Kim Dan. So yes, it truly was an important chapter in terms of shift of their relationship dynamics. Before discussing previous theories, I'd like to get rid of something first. Excuse me, please, but how good did Jaekyung look like in that outfit at the end of the chapter? I mean, wow, it fits him so good, and though he used to be a black flag, he never disappointed with his good looks. Prove me wrong. So, as mentioned in previous videos, we did indeed get a major shift in plot. The first possibility was about Kim Dan wanting to go back to the village and perhaps wanting to see his grandma again and refuse to get back to Jaekyung's apartment. Well, they did get back to the small village, but it's not clear whether it was because Kim Dan asked for it. So it's not really clear. The second possibility was about how Jaekyung and Kim Dan perhaps would spend their day together and whether they'd return to Team Black Gym because Jaekyung and coach were talking on the phone about a serious MFC matter. He dragged Kim Dan with him and even buy new clothes for him. This is also not too clear, since we saw how they returned together to the small village and how Jaekyung attended the meeting with coach and the MFC chairman. It's not clear whether they met at the Team Black Gym, but it didn't seem like it, since it was a more formal meeting. He didn't drag Kim Dan with him either. The third possibility was about upcoming drama concerning Baek Junmin, the Lone Sharks, or the director of King of MMA gym. Also, it was about the idea of grandma passing away. Though the drama didn't happen, we indeed heard of Big Jumpman and the culprit who might be related to the spray and the shake Kim Dan accidentally drank. I've got the feeling that though it didn't happen, it's still a possibility in future chapters. So, although for this chapter 69, my chances for predictions perhaps weren't as accurate as in previous videos, I was actually glad that the plot turned out the way it actually turned out. Because, honestly, I felt so many emotions while reading it and enjoyed it a lot. A lot of things happened and there was a lot to unpack in order to get a deeper understanding for the whole picture and development. I really enjoy a good and not easy predictable plot. So for the upcoming chapter, I'm not only anxious and nervous, but also curious how Kim Dan and Jaekyung's interaction will continue. So firstly, now that Jaekyung is perhaps finally seeing Kim Dan as a person and realizing how important Kim Dan actually to Jaekyung is, it could be possible that the chapter will continue with their hug. Will Kim Dan be confused? Will they act awkward after their hug, or will Kim Dan ask what happened or even break the hug? Let's not forget that he was carrying full bags. I've got the feeling that they'll return to their homes again. Secondly, I think too that the chapter will continue with their hugs, but with a bigger focus on Jaekyung's reaction rather than Kim Dan's. Will he act weird after realizing what he did? Will he really get all emotional with Kim Dan or get back to his usual grumpy self again? To me, that sounds more like Jaekyung, but who knows? Perhaps we will even fully experience how his perspective towards Kim Dan shifts. But who knows? Thirdly, to me it seemed as if the landlord was with Kim Dan. What if he interrupts their moment together so that they can return to their homes? Jaekyung could take them with his car. Perhaps it would also be possible to see how they'll spend their evening, together or apart from each other, and even their thoughts about what happened earlier. So what do you think? What are your thoughts, theories, and predictions for the upcoming chapter 70? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments.